What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some very, very key levels to watch for why the market's showing a little bit of weakness after we just got the jobs numbers. So I'll talk about what they look like and how this is affecting the markets. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyway, today's Friday, January 10th, 2025. Just know at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 hour before the market opens, we have some important data. We have this data that just came out. We had the non-farm payrolls. This was at 256,000. This was above expectations, and the unemployment rate was at 4.1% below expectations, which isn't too bad. Besides that, everything else is very close to expectations, but those are the main two things. Unemployment came out low, and the non-farm payrolls was above expectations. Now, at 10 a.m., we have more Michigan consumer sentiment data involving inflation that's coming out, so it might cause a bit more volatility. But besides that, just know that the data was, the market still dropped amidst this data coming out. So the job growth was stronger than expected, essentially, but this could provide the Fed incentive to less of an incentive to cut rates. If anything, they're more likely to just want to keep things the same. And the reason is because when this data came out, the 10-year treasury yield ended up going up. When yields like this end up going up, they're oftentimes associated with increases in inflation that are expected. So that's the big issue right now, at least for the markets, the fact that there is an anticipation of higher inflation coming for the year, which could cause the Fed to just keep rates the same, right? Not really cut as much. In fact, we had Bowman say the same thing yesterday. So this is Bowman from the Fed. She said that the Fed may not cut rates for a while because we're in a very interesting place where there is a risk of inflation going up. And with the context of our jobs numbers being strong, it does lead to some concerns by the Fed. So that's why we want to be very cautious. And that's why the market's trying to sell off a bit. There was more news that came out about how, if you look at Tesla, they have the new Model Y, crossover that's come out, also known as Juniper. This is coming out in China and some countries in the Asian Pacific. It's not released in the US or Europe quite yet, but this is still good news. I can't wait to see how the sales increase once this officially comes out. Deliveries may start as soon as March, so that's a good piece of news. Delta Airlines also had its earnings. They did relatively well. If you look at their numbers, their EPS was at $1.85 above expectations. Their EPS growth was at about 10% year over year. That's not too bad as well. And overall, we're looking for some good-looking numbers, which helped this thing once again improve. But with that being said, what do I see from this point on for the broader markets? So there's a left shoulder on SPY, a head, and then a right shoulder. I was hoping yesterday we would hold support and try to rebound. Unfortunately, we're not doing that. Once the job numbers came out, the market started dipping. So we're looking at 585 on SPY. We got to hold this. If not, we're going to be looking at 582, followed by 580 and 577. Those are going to be all your supports. If we lose 580, at the very least, we turn really bearish and this thing could start dumping. The head and shoulders will pan out. If we manage to reclaim the trend line around 588, then this could be trying to push back up to about 592 or so. Okay. But for now, we are looking a little bit weaker. We're barely holding 585, so we'll have to see if this holds. If not, we could be dipping towards 582 and 580 all over again. There is a risk of downside, but we'll see if support holds, so just keep that in mind. For ES, we're technically on a downtrend. There's a left shoulder here, a head, and then the right shoulder. We're also making lower highs, as you guys could see. We got to see if we could reclaim 59.55. If not, we're going to be dumping to about 58.80, and if that fails us, we could be dipping even more. There's a nice double top here that's forming, so this could be dipping to about 58.80, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For Nvda, we got this rejection. We're below our 200 EMA at 137.68. If we hold this, we're looking for a dip closer to about 135. If we reclaim 140, we could try to bounce. Otherwise, this is like a big red bar, and it's looking weaker. We got to try to hold 138. Otherwise, 135 is coming. There's a little bit of weakness on this chart. If 135 fails us, there's some balance, takes us all the way down towards the lower 130s just for now. So just be careful. On Bitcoin, we got to reclaim 95,000. Otherwise, we're going to be at risk of 92,500. As far as Tesla goes, we're technically on a downtrend, making lower highs, but we have this support where the blue trend line is right over here. We got to try to hold the three 388 area. If we lose that, we're looking for a dip closer to about 385 and 381. If we hold this, we could try to bounce and try to break past 400. But overall, I'm a little bit concerned about the possibility of an inverse cup and handle. And if we lose 388, we're going to be dumping even more. So watch these levels very closely. There's weakness technically on the chart, but we'll see if Tesla could hold around the 390 area or not. I'll be watching that very closely. There is some weakness right now. If 390 fails us, we could be tipping closer to like the 385 area. So just be careful with this setup. Unless we reclaim 400, this does technically favor downside, and we're barely holding on to this support. On NQ, we're looking for 21,000 to hold. If not, we could be dumping closer to about 21,000 or 20,800. So we might retest 20,000. If we reclaim 21,200, we turn back up. But this is favoring a retest of 21,000 or below. For the QQQ, we're technically on a downtrend. We need to try to hold above 512.5 to bounce to 517. If we can't hold 512, we're going to be at risk of 507. If that fails us, we're dipping closer to 500. So be careful on the QQQ. Watch and see if 507 holds. For Aapl, we're barely holding 240. We got to hold that. Otherwise, this could be dipping to 238 or below. If we break past 244, we could bounce, but this looks a little bit more bearish. For the Russell, we're technically on a downtrend. We need to try to get back up of at least 220. Otherwise, we could be favoring a move closer to about 216 and then eventually towards 212. So be careful. If 215 to 216 fails us, 212 is coming. Unless we reclaim 220, we still favor downside. For coin, we look a little bit more bearish. We've got to reclaim 260. Otherwise, we could be favoring a move back down to 252 to eventually this gap fill for 250. For Amazon, we got to try to reclaim 220. If we can't hold that, we're looking for a dip closer to about 218. If we reclaim 223, we could bounce. Otherwise, this favors downside. Meta also needs to hold 607. Otherwise, we could be dipping closer to about 600 or below. So watch that very closely. For Microsoft, we're technically on a downtrend. We're going to try to hold above 425. Otherwise, we favor a lot more downside for 420 or below. So 420 holds. If we lose 420, we're looking for 418. We gotta get bought back up around 424 to bounce. Otherwise, we favor downside. Google's also looking a little bit more bearish. We've got to hold 193. Otherwise, we favor a move closer to about 191. So unfortunately, guys, I was hoping yesterday the market would get bought back up as SPY was at support. But in this case, we're below support now. We'll see if we get bought back up to get back into this wedge or not. Otherwise, we still favor the downside. Watch 585 as our first support. If not, 582 is coming in 580. There's a much larger head and shoulders that's still present on SPY. So I just want to warn you guys to be very, very careful with this new development and to watch your levels very closely. If SPY could reclaim 588 and then 590, we will turn back up. If we can't reclaim that, it's going to reject, and this head and shoulders looks very, very strong right now. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Please have a good rest of your day. Watch your levels very closely. Just know there's still weakness in this market, and we'll see how it ends up developing. I thank you again. Have a good day, and peace out.